I'm just going to start talking about what we've done for results only working environment and let people join and ask questions as they go. So your recent video you had you in a meditation pose. I've not heard of it except through you, so I'd love to hear the basics, please. And Carly. Okay, so questions are coming through now, so let me answer Jane's question. Thank you, Jane. The basics, right? So I talk about ROWE quite a lot, ROWE, and it stands for a results only working environment. And what it basically means in essence is we focus only on results and we don't focus on time. So it's a real shift in mindset away from kind of the standard way of working, which I think most people say they're used to, the kind of 9 to 5 or a version of that. It's a real shift away from that, and it's giving control over time back to your staff, and actually them to focus on results. Now, there's a lot to it, and obviously I'll be going over that Q&A, but in essence that's what the outcome is. We were trying to give full flexibility to staff to work when and how they choose in order to have the most efficient and productive business we can, which kind of is a win-win situation for staff and for employers. Carly, can you explain a quick overview of it? I can't get my head around people not having hours. We currently have flexible working. They have set hours but can work when they want. So, yes, I can. So, a lot of businesses, I think, do that, Carly. It's kind of like a step towards offering flexibility. So you'll say, as long as you do your 40 hours a week or 35 hours a week, whatever it is, as long as you do that, you can sort of work them when you want. Now, ROWE is really about bringing efficiencies. And if people have to work a certain number of hours, they generally won't try to find efficiencies in their work. If you know that you've got to work an 8-hour day, then what you're working on you'll get it to take you 8 hours because you've got to work those hours regardless. But if you, say, for example, knew that if you were finished by 3 o'clock, you could be done, you didn't have to stay at your desk till 5, or you didn't have to carry on working till 5, then I guarantee you'd get it done quicker because there's an incentive there to work more efficiently and get things done quicker and more efficiently. So you're not really incentivizing your staff to find any efficiencies if you're making them work set hours. And you're also really focusing still on time, and time is so irrelevant. Whether your team members work 40 hours or not shouldn't make any difference to your business if your business is looking at output. So we're not looking at hours, we're looking at output. I hope that kind of explains what you've asked. So we currently have flexible working, they have set hours, they can work when they want. It's all about creating a kind of an environment, like a fluid environment where people feel so much more at ease in their job because they know that the smarter they work, the quicker they work, the better. Whereas team members that have to work a certain number of hours will make work fit those hours. So it's not necessarily an easier way of working, I wouldn't say, but it is a more grown-up way of working. Carly, again, how do you make sure people don't overwork and burn out? So obviously everyone has contracts and it's stipulated, and also in our employee handbooks, about the amount of work people are allowed to do, and you can't work too many hours. So that is enforced from a legal perspective. But realistically, if people are working too much or feeling like they're burning out because they're working too much, they will leave and go and find another job. So, you have to manage that. You have to manage workload in the same way that you manage it now. So, that's not really a difference. You already manage your workload and the amount of work you expect people to do. So you're still doing that the same. It's just you're not telling them that they have to spend a certain amount of time doing it. Jane, do you find the quality has to be checked vigorously, or does that work well without significant supervisory input? So the quality is checked very much so. So we still have all our internal processes for quality checks in the same way we had before we had ROWE. That hasn't changed. And, you know, as much as we expect a certain level of output or quantity of output, we expect it done to a certain standard. And the two requirements have to be met. So when we say we're talking about a results only working environment, those results are what we determine them to be. So you have to determine those results, communicate them to the team so they all know what they're doing, and then that's monitored and implemented as we go along. Thank you, Jane. Ashley, many traditional accountants are celebrating the fact that we don't have working from home now because they want to see bums on seats. How do we get these guys to see the light? That's a really good question, Ashley. Thank you. Or a really good point. I think they will see the light when their staff members leave and go and work somewhere else that offers full flexibility. So I think that realistically is the way that employers will start to see the light. It's, you know, if COVID hasn't taught us that people can work more flexibly, then I don't know what will. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to implement. I would recommend that anybody that's thinking about doing ROWE buys the book that's called Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It. And that is by the people that created ROWE. I read that book before I even did anything at all towards implementing ROWE. So I read the book. I knew I wanted to offer it. Anyway, I read the book. That cemented in my mind that I definitely wanted to offer ROWE to the staff and everybody. And that just it makes so much more sense reading the book, because they talk about a person, a young woman starting a job and saying, you know, well, can I do these hours, or can I, like initially, can I do these hours, and then a bit further down the line, well, can I just work sort of in the evenings, and can I do that? And, you know, the company not wanting to let her do that, and her saying, you know, but I'm achieving more than other people, I'm achieving more than you're expecting me to achieve, why can't I? So the book is a really good starting point for anyone thinking of implementing like a fully flexible working environment, because it really gets you thinking about why you want to do it, which I think is so important. The why is the big bit for me. Elena, hello Elena. Am I correct when I say that someone can technically work 1 hour a day if they get their tasks completed? Yes, you are correct. It's the, I was going to ask about the book. Good. So hopefully I've answered about the book. So yeah, Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It. I should know who the authors are, and I'm really terrible. And I actually wanted to bring a copy of the book and be like, this is the book. But again, I haven't done that either. So, but you can find it online. Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It. Such a good book. Real eye-opener. Yes, they can work 1 hour a day. I don't know how many hours a day my staff work. I don't know when they do them, and it makes no difference to me or my business. In fact, it does make a difference. It makes a positive difference because they do what they want and they work much more productively. So, yeah, I mean, if you can get your work done in 4 days, don't work 5, basically. And if that is not an incentive to people to work smart and improve your business processes, then I don't know what is. I genuinely don't. It's going to be unlikely that people can fit all of their work into 1 hour a day if they're full time. But if they manage it, then who am I to say anything about that? Thank you for that question though, because I think that's a really good way of, like a simple, basic way of putting it to people, so it kind of makes more sense. Gareth. Hi, Gareth. How do you set expectations and targets? The normal needs to be done stuff is easy. What about the ad hoc stuff like customer inquiries, emails, calls, and web inquiries, etc.? Really great question. So let me make this clear. My business is open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So as far as clients are concerned, that is our opening hours, and we as a company are open and able to help them during those hours. Our admin staff do not work under ROWE because we have to have people working those hours to answer the phone and be here and available for clients during those hours. There's other way. I know there's companies that do it other ways, like they use a call answering service and things like that. So there's other ways of doing it, but they have set hours, and that is because their job, it does not fit with a ROWE pattern. It just doesn't. So, and that was always the case when they were employed and made very clear. So, you know, it doesn't suit every single type of job. It doesn't suit every single type of business. But you have to have things in place like that to manage, like you're saying, ad hoc queries and things like that. Also, along with that, we have expectations. So as a company, we have expectations like the whole team know that we have a 4-hour turnaround time for phone calls and emails. That is internally and externally. So for example, if at 3:00 I phone one of the team because I need to ask them something, they have got until 11:00 the next day, it's 4 working hours, to come back to me. Now, realistically, they're probably going to come back to me quicker than that. But again, if a client called at 1:00, they should be called back by 5:00 that day. So if a staff member is out and about doing whatever they want, sorry, there's something really noisy outside. Typical. Hopefully that's not too distracting. If a staff member is say gone out for lunch with some friends, yeah, for a couple of hours, they know they're taking a couple of hours out of their day. That's shortening their windows 2 hours maybe for how quickly they can get back to people. If they want to be completely undisturbed, then they take annual leave. And then the 4-hour obviously doesn't apply to them because they are officially not working that day. So I hope that answers your question, Gareth. If everyone finishes early and there's nobody to answer the phone, etc., that's Gareth again. Yeah, exactly. And I get this quite a lot. So our admin staff answer the phone. And also before we had enough admin people that were working 9 to 5 answering the phone, we had a phone rota that I let the team decide themselves. So when I implemented ROWE, I said, right, the phones have got to be answered. We need at least 2 people available between 9 and 5. Design your own rota of who's going to be available. Now, they did that and that was absolutely fine. And the team members don't have to answer the phone themselves. If it's, say it's one of the team, it's a Monday morning, is their phone allocated time. If they want to not be around on a Monday morning because they've got an appointment or something they want to go to, then they don't have to answer the phone on a Monday morning. They are just responsible for making the phone answered, making sure the phone is answered. So they decide they need to go and do their food shop because it's really important on that Monday morning. They want to go, they'll just check with one of the others and go, look, it's my phone shift. Are you all right to cover it? And the other person will say, yeah, of course. And they're all flexible and help each other. So before we had enough admin people working our set hours and not working under ROWE, that is how we managed it. So for smaller teams, if you've got a smaller team, let them decide how they want it to work. They will quickly come up with a solution, I promise you.
By the way, sorry, just before you do, the link has changed, so it might be worth putting out a new link for this, because
okay.
People are going by the old link.
Apparently the link has changed for this. Yeah, I mean, okay, just going to get pinged the new link so I can put it out. Just so that everyone can join the live. Anyway, Elena said thanks. You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Ashley, I nearly spat on my coffee. That's not the answer though. So many people are moaning about not being able to get staff. No, I know it's not the answer, and I think it's kind of like the harsh, you know, all jokes aside, it's almost like the harsh way of learning. Like if employers don't get on board with this, that is what is going to happen to them. They're going to lose staff. So I really feel like it's a bit tough. You have to get on board with it. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds, everyone, while I just upload the new link to LinkedIn. Just uploading it will literally be 2 seconds, everybody. Two seconds, literally I'm under pressure now. How quickly can I upload this link to LinkedIn so I can... There we go, it's on there. Cool, sorry, I'm back. Right. Carly, how do you decide what to pay if people want to work part-time? Okay, I feel like that's almost two questions, pay and then part-time. So it doesn't work great for part-time people, like just being completely honest. We do have a few part-timers that do work under ROWE, but it's not ideal because it's not so bad if people are part-time and they work Monday to Friday, so they work every day, but just maybe shorter hours. But part-time people that work the odd, like a couple of days a week or 3 days a week or whatever, it's not ideal because the way ROWE works is people can be contacted at any time, a day or night. That is one of the conditions of ROWE. So, if someone, say, for example, works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and doesn't work Thursday, Friday, and a client calls them or a member of staff needs them, then technically we're allowed to contact them on a Thursday and Friday, which obviously are not their working days. Now, in reality, our part-timers still do it and it works okay. We know the days that they generally work because they are the days they've chosen to work because of other commitments, whatever that might be. Maybe it's childcare, whatever the reason is. We know the days they've chosen to work, so no one ever contacts them on the days off. Like, we just don't, out of courtesy. But if it was an emergency, I would contact them. But then I don't feel like that's any different to a non-ROWE working environment, because if there was an emergency and someone wasn't in, I'd contact them. So I don't feel like that's any different. So with part-timers, you pay them what they're currently being paid. Whatever their salary is what you pay them for the amount of work you're going to give them. So that part-time, the salary part is not dependent on whether they're part-time or full-time. It's whatever you're going to pay a part-time person or whatever you're going to pay a full-time person for the job. But part-time and ROWE is not as easy as full-time. But just remember, everybody, that the results only working environment, or certainly for us, it was optional. Okay, I never made anybody say yes to this. I said, this is what I want to do. You can choose to do it. You can carry on working 9 to 5. Okay, but either way, you have these KPIs to hit, whether you work 9 to 5 or whether you work flexibly under ROWE. You still have to hit the KPIs, because the KPIs I've set for my entire team are what their job requirements are. So that is whether they work 9 to 5 or whether they work under ROWE. So it was optional. Not everyone had to do it. Make sure that if you're going to implement ROWE, that you consider whether you force it upon people or let them choose. You'll probably have a couple of people, maybe one or two, one person that doesn't want to do it to start with, and then they'll very quickly change their minds once everyone else starts doing it. So yeah, that's how we do it for part-time people. Alexis, do you have any staff that would prefer to go back to the traditional set hours? Oh, that follows on really nicely from what I was just saying. So no, I don't. I had one or two that didn't want to do ROWE to start with. They really didn't like the idea of, and they were part-time people actually. They didn't like the idea of kind of being contacted whenever, and they liked their set days. That's why they chose to do part-time and do those days. So I was like, fine, absolutely. Like, you carry on working 9 to 5, but you still have to hit your KPIs like the rest of the team, and you can't just come and go as you please. So, and you have to work from the office. That is the alternative. So they started off not doing ROWE and then changed their minds and went on to it. Thank you, Alexis. Ashley. Callie Wrestler wrote the book. Thank you. How bad is it that I don't even know who wrote the book? Thank you, Ashley. Why Work Sucks and How to Fix It by Callie Wrestler is the book you need to go and get. I'll pop a link in below for it so everyone knows. Carly, what kind of KPIs do you use? So we use a range of KPIs that are quantity ones, i.e. how much work is being done, quality ones, so to what level of quality they're being done, and development. So everyone has to do a certain amount of training per month. Now, there's no point me telling everybody specifically what KPIs that I have as a company, because A, they've changed over the last year and a half that we've been doing it. And B, your KPI should really be whatever you have issues with in your company. That's what I think. So whatever is a concern or something that needs monitoring is what should be a KPI. So for example, someone asked me the other day, you have a 4-hour turnaround time. How do you monitor that? And I said, I don't. Never have. The reason I don't monitor it at all is because I've never, ever once in the last almost 6 years of running my business ever had a client leave or complain or comment on it taking too long for someone to get back to them, ever, because we are rapid. So it's not an issue. You don't need to monitor it. It's not a KPI. So that's the kind of approach I would take. So I would literally write down all the things you want to monitor in your business, all the things that are, what's taking too long, where are mistakes being made, what are causing customer concerns, like all of these things, what are causing staff concerns, write them all down, get them all in a list, and then build your KPIs. Every single month have KPIs, measurements, if you like, for those issues. And then you will adapt them as time goes on. So ours have changed every time we come up with, new ones, because there's new things we want to look at or monitor. Carly again. I can see how staff managing a portfolio can be measured on output, but do your junior staff work under ROWE? How does that work if they are learning? So yeah, everybody works under ROWE apart from the apprentices that have just joined. So they will have the option to work under ROWE. But initially, because they are brand new from school into working, it's their first job and they've never worked in accounts before and stuff, we ask them to do 9 to 5 just so that we know when they are working so we can support them. But once they're at a stage that they are able to work on their own a lot more, then they will be able to do ROWE as well. So it's really just making sure that training need is met. We know when they're going to be working and where, so we can make sure we're there to support them. And yeah, all the junior staff work under ROWE. Everybody does, apart from admin people and the new apprentices. Thank you, Carly. Jane. Is there a problem with some people doing what they always do and stepping up and always helping, and some other people always leaning on others? So I think any work, I'm not going to sit here and be like, the work environment is just perfect all the time. It isn't. It's a normal working environment and you're always going to get issues and, but on the whole, there's nothing I can think of where we've had a major issue at all with anybody saying they're helping others too much and other people are not, or anything like that. It's a real team spirit, team environment, and everyone supports each other. So I think the key to that, Jane, being completely honest, is communication and asking, if there's any issue, if there are any issues, for example, like if someone's struggling to hit their KPI, but another member of the team is able to hit it, then I would encourage those two people to have a conversation with each other. And, if one's managing to hit it, they can help the one that's not because they're doing it. So what are they doing that can help the person that's not to hit their KPI doing the exact same job, sort of thing? So communication is just really, really key. If anyone has an issue, then we just want to talk about it, resolve it, move on. But yeah, we haven't had any. We honestly haven't. So I think that's less about a ROWE working environment and more about who you employ and having nice, kind people. Thanks, Jane. Peter, is there any evidence that this scales to larger organisations where the dynamics are very different? I don't know, to be completely honest with you. I haven't got a clue. I literally only know about how I've implemented it in my business and how it's worked for us. So I don't know if there is, but I'm sure there's got to be bigger organisations doing it. In fact, that is a lie. I do know of a bigger organisation that does it. I just completely take back what I said. LinkedIn do it. A few years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I got invited to LinkedIn headquarters. So way before COVID, when people actually used to go, always go into the office. And we visited the LinkedIn headquarters and found out all about how they work with their employees. And they didn't call it ROWE, but they basically said no one has set hours. People work whenever they want, as long as they get their job done. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. So yeah, LinkedIn do it. So that's obviously on a large scale. So obviously it does work. But I think the bottom line is that You need to have your company values nailed down before you even look at KPIs or ROWE, because your company values will drive everything that you do in a company and what your decisions you make. So, our company values are set and a team know what they are. We as a business are all about. And then you implement ROWE because you say, like, ultimately, everything that you do has to align with our company values, everything. And if you've got solid company values and you've got solid KPIs, the ROWE is just like an extension of that. It doesn't feel like such a huge leap because you just literally go, everyone's going to align with these company values. Everyone's going to hit these KPIs in order to stay employed. And then you go, okay, well, how you do that is up to you. And that is literally all you're doing in essence. Sorry, my stomach's rumbling because I haven't eaten. I hope that helps. Tej, do employees end up working more hours under ROWE than they would normally? I don't know how many hours people work, so I don't know is the honest answer. I genuinely don't know how many hours anyone works unless they specifically tell me. Sometimes client managers tell me. But we have busier times of year. So like leading up to January, it's really, really, really busy, and April is really, really busy. But then February and March is quieter and summer is quieter. So as accountants, we have those kind of highs and lows through the year. So I would expect the team to probably work more hours in like January and probably work less hours in February, March, and then work more hours in April, May, and less hours in sort of July, August. So it, kind of balances out over the year really with our kind of demands, business demands. But yeah, how many hours they do, I don't know, because I just don't have any focus at all on time. If they were doing too many hours, then hopefully they would tell me and we could do something about it. Thank you, Tej. Sorry, let me scroll down. Carly, do your non-ROWE staff complete timesheets? No, they don't. So they are admin anyway. And the apprentices, obviously. But no, we've never had timesheets from day one. It's not something that I have ever wanted. I have always had to do timesheets in my employed jobs. So I hated doing them. Absolutely hated it. So yeah, I never wanted to do them myself or inflict them upon anyone else. So no, definitely no timesheets for anyone. Thank you, Carly. Ellis, looking forward to the session on 22nd, as am I. Start my group coaching session. My first one is on the 22nd of February with my group of 10 people, which I'm super excited about. So be answering all of your questions, and I'm sure there'll be some about ROWE mixed in there as well. Getting towards the end of the questions now, so keep them coming if you've got any other questions and I will answer them. Peter, we found with remote working that hours actually increased, which goes completely counter to one of our core values of regular hours 9 to 5:30, which we are quite strict on for a work-life balance. So I would sort of challenge that, Peter, to say that being strict on hours doesn't support a work-life balance, in my opinion. To me, a work-life balance is working when you want to work. So if you wake up at 5 in the morning and you can't get back to sleep, but you can't start work till 9, what a waste of a morning when you could sit there and smash out 3 hours of work before, anyone's got up or gone to work yet. You might get to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and think, my head's just not in it today. I can't think straight and I'm not getting this done. I want to go for a walk, or I want to finish today and I'll pick it up again this evening when the kids are in bed. You should be able to do that. So you said you found with remote working that hours actually increase. So I would challenge that and say, if you have KPIs and output requirements from your team, then it's up to them when they do it and how they do it. Not saying 9 to 5:30 kind of is a way of improving people's work-life balance, because I don't think it does, personally. And my team would agree on that. But you've got to do what works for your business at the end of the day. And, What do your staff think? If you offered them full flexibility, what would they think? Because, you know, so many businesses say that they're flexible. This is probably not going to go down very well, but I'm going to say it anyway. So many companies think that they're flexible and they're not. Telling your staff they can work when they want as long as they do their hours is not flexible, in my opinion, because you're still controlling people's time and demanding a certain amount of time from people when why do you care how much time they give you? Why do you care? As long as you get enough work from people, the time shouldn't matter. So if you really want to be flexible, then look at, then offer full flexibility and look at a results only environment, not saying people, oh, as long as you can work between 8 till 6, but start and finish when you want between those hours. And, we're a really flexible employer. No, you're not. Or we let the staff work from home 2 days a week. Wow. It's not flexible. It's not. It's still controlling, telling people that they can have 2 days a week from home. Well, what if someone wants to work 5 days a week from home? What if they want to work 5 days a week from Spain? We're taking on a new employee who starts in April, and she wants to travel the world. And she said, I want to just get up and go to Spain for a month and stuff like that. And her employer were like, we can't allow that. And I was like, we can. Don't care where you work from. My stomach's going again, sorry. Don't care where you work from, just get the job done and do what you want. It's great you want to travel. I think that's amazing. Go. Do what you want to do in life. And that, I think, is allowing a work-life balance. Carly, good. We hate timesheets. Yes, we do. The Wild Bookkeeper, looking forward to 22nd too, as am I, and I'll see you there. Elena, does ROWE mean that as a manager you are always on? For example, if an employee is working at 5 a.m, could they technically contact you for help or at weekends? Yes, technically they could, but you don't have to answer. Okay, so say for example, I'm a trainee and I need help with something, and it's 10 o'clock at night. I need help with something. I could pick the phone up and ring in one of the managers. Now they could see me ringing them and think, no, I'm not answering that. I'll deal with it by 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock tomorrow, because that's how long they've got to get back to their routine. Now, the reality of the situation is, if they saw someone phoning them at 10 o'clock at night, they may well choose to answer that. That's up to them. That is entirely up to them. They don't have to. But if it were me and I saw someone ringing me at 10 o'clock at night and I saw it, I'd probably think, well, that's got to be important for someone to call me at 10. I'll answer it. Because if it wasn't that important, they just send them an email or phone them the next day. So I'm fully giving the team control over how they communicate with each other and how they do it, as long as they meet the company expectations. I hope that answers your question, Elena. Thank you. Hang on, I'll have to scroll back up because we've got quite a few questions now. Carly, questions from my business partner. Hi, Katie. How much time do you and your team spend monitoring your KPIs? Now, very little for me monitoring it. I really only monitor if they haven't hit it, if that makes sense. So all the ones that are hit don't need it's a quick scan down. I can see they're all hit. I'll only really have conversations where people are struggling to hit them and see how we can help them to achieve them. So I don't spend a huge amount of time. Initially, when we first brought KPIs in, I definitely spent longer because it was all new to me. So I was sort of a bit obsessed with them. The team don't really spend a huge amount of time. I mean, I don't know because I don't know what they do with their time, but they just, finish a job and log it on their own little log of how the value of that job, for example. And, all the different KPIs we've got are measured using different things. There's some we can measure on our software and like reporting and deadlines and stuff. Some of the team have to write down what they've done. But yeah, it's worth the time, in my opinion, to make sure that we are, fulfilling our company requirements. So, we've only got a certain number of days to get accounts turned around. Well, I want us within that time frame always, and we weren't within it. So the KPIs have enabled us to bring that right down, things like that. So, Carly. And how do you work out if staff are not meeting KPIs because they've slacked off a bit, or do they just have too much to do? Well, the KPIs are literally monitored and measured all the time. So I can see them and everyone can see them. It's all on one spreadsheet. Everyone can see each other's. So I don't need to work it out, if you know what I mean. It's just there in black and white. And if they have too much to do or they physically can't get it done, then there's obviously an issue somewhere. So if a staff member can't hit their KPI, we'd be having a conversation. Either they would raise it with us, like, I'm struggling, but more than likely then the managers would say, how are you doing with your KPIs? Do you need any help? And they would say, I'm not going to hit it this month, but I am literally working flat out. Then we'd go, right, there's an issue there. Is the job being undercharged to the client? Or is there a training need, i.e. you're spending way too long on this than you actually should be because someone else would get it done much quicker? Because either way, as a firm, we've got an issue there. We need to either sack the client, if they're being a nightmare and not helping us or giving us what we need. We need to charge more if the job is actually, requires us to charge more. Or the member of staff needs some help, a training, in which case we will do that. So it's just such a good exercise to fix all of these problems within a business. Peter, we have the opposite problem. We are actively trying to reduce the time spent. But again, I think that you're focusing on time. And I don't think you should be worrying about time. I think you should be worrying about effort. So if you want to reduce the amount of time your staff are working, I would say, are they telling you it's a problem? So your staff coming to you telling you that it is an issue for them, they are working too many hours. Because obviously if that's an issue for them, then you're not charging enough, or you're giving your staff too much to do. So there's an issue there with kind of how you're managing the workload. I wouldn't say that's an issue with offering full flexibility or not. You don't need to make people work 9 to 5:30 to get them work less hours. You need to address the problem, is what is causing them to work too much. And that must be the type of work they're doing or how much you're giving them or that kind of thing. So I would be looking at that, not fix the problem, basically, then offer full flexibility and let people work when they want. Alexis, is cybersecurity a concern if people are working from other places other than the office? No, because our IT providers, which is a reformed IT, and they're amazing, cover all of our cybersecurity for everything. So we have the badge. We have the cybersecurity badge that we're covered for all of that. Right, let me scroll down, got some more questions. Daniel, how often are KPIs / outputs reviewed? How do you manage client expectations in terms of SLAs and ensuring clients get a timely response? So I did mention this earlier, Daniel, but we have a 4-hour turnaround time for calls and emails. So that is how long my staff have to get back to either internally to colleagues or externally to clients. That is a requirement. That is not a KPI. That is an expectation of our business. So that is what everyone has to do, whether they work under ROWE or not. And KPIs are reviewed monthly. They update them throughout the month so that we can monitor if they're on track or if anyone needs any help. The managers do that. And the managers help the team to achieve their KPIs. And make sure they've got enough work and not too much work, and make sure the work's being charged at the right amount and all those kind of things. So the client managers manage all of that. And then we look at it at the end of the month. So like the 1st or 2nd of the following month, we look at it. Ashley, agree. That is flexible working hours. They still want those bums on seats. You are talking about piecework, basically. Get the work done, go home, simples. Yeah. Or you might already be at home, or you might be on a beach, or you might be out having a picnic in the middle of the field with your laptop. I don't care where you are, as long as the work's being done. Yeah, completely agree, Ashley. Okay, got some more questions. Tej. How are the employment contracts worded? Do you have to use a specialist who knows about ROWE? So we use Real Employment Law. They are our HR consultancy. They do everything for us, contracts and letters and wording, everything to do with HR. Amazing. So they wrote our contracts for us for ROWE, and it's very clear in our contracts that we can remove ROWE at any point if the business requires it. The Wild Bookkeeper, we use Teams to contact each other. We do as well. Love Teams. We also choose if to answer a call. We have totally flexible hours, just on hourly paid and not ROWE. Almost there, just need to make the final jump. You're so close. Is what I would ask you. Do you have detailed KPIs for everybody in the team? That's the starting point. Well, actually, the starting point is, do you have your company values now personally? Get your company values nailed down, read the book, Why Work Sucks, How to Fix It, write your KPIs, and then just do it. You won't regret it. Peter, it depends what you want from a business, doesn't it? Our team is under huge pressures from clients and they tell us that support is the number one thing and being together should not be underestimated. Being together. Yeah, it does. It does depend on what you want from a business. And you know, with ROWE, it has to work for the business and it has to work for the staff. You know, if it doesn't work for either of those parties, it's not a goer. So, you know, I did it because it works for both. You know, our productivity has increased, our turnover's increased, and our profit has massively increased, and our margins have increased since we did it. So, and ultimately, the team's happiness. You know, a year ago, everyone was really, really stressed before we brought ROWE in. It was chaos. We were too busy. We had too many clients and too much work and not enough staff, and everything was just stressful. We changed systems. And now a year later, like, it just couldn't be further from that. It's the best thing we ever did. So just treating people like grown-ups and let them manage their own time. Jason, how many laptops do you lose to sand, dirt, water while they're out on their adventures? We haven't lost any yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Jane, great session. Get my words out. Great session, Jeri, and applies to the legal profession, which traditionally uses timesheets, which I've never used since setting up my own firm. Thanks for sharing your ideas and philosophy. You're very welcome. And yeah, it absolutely does. I think accountants and solicitors, we all come from a timesheet background, don't we? That's what everyone was used to. And, you know, it's just so pointless. Timesheets are so pointless. And I wish no accountants did use them, but you know, they do. So the Wild Book Keeper. I have company values. I need to write the KPIs. Yeah, that's the hardest bit. The KPIs is definitely the hardest bit. It took us a good it took me a good year of thinking about and writing KPIs before I implemented them. Then it took a good 6 months of having KPIs before we decided to implement ROWE. So you do the KPIs first before you implement ROWE, because you should have those regardless, in my opinion. You absolutely should have KPIs, whether you're doing ROWE or not, because they underpin everything that my business does and they give clarity to my team members over what is expected of them. So I don't know about you, but I was employed and I wanted to know what was expected of me. Like, tell me what you want me to do and I'll do that. And the KPIs are just perfect. They are literally like, do this and I'll pay you a salary. And that's it. There's no grey area. It's so clear of what is expected of them. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more questions and then we will wrap it up. So I have got Christian. Sorry, off topic, but for someone starting their practice, would you recommend building gradually or purchasing clients / practice? I've never purchased any fees or a business before. I've only just grown it organically. So naturally, I would say just build gradually. But it depends on what your marketing's like. You know, I always prioritize marketing over everything. So that's why I grew the business so rapidly. If you are not that way, then potentially purchasing a practice or purchasing fees might give you that boost, sort of get the momentum going. So I think it really just depends on you, what you're like as a person and what you're willing to sort of prioritize. Peter, agree 100% on timesheets. Very good point about KPIs. We have just a couple and it's clear from this that is vital. Great point, Jeri. Thank you. Yeah, I think I just wasn't really measuring anything. Like, obviously I was measuring company performance and stuff, you know, company profit and turnover and all those kind of things. And we had turnover targets every month. But I just think for team members, it's really important that they know what is expected of them. They've all loved having the KPIs. I mean, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship, I'm sure, but though maybe they would disagree with me. But they all said they gave me feedback and they said, we really like it. We just look at this now and we know this month I need to do this. You know, for the year, I need to do this. You know, we're looking at it cumulatively. So, if they hit 1 month way above and the next month under, that's fine, as long as cumulatively they're hitting them. So, they much prefer having clear expectations. And I think who wouldn't want that? Everyone wants that, surely. Christian, thanks. You're welcome. So I'm probably going to finish it off there unless anyone's got a burning question they want to ask me. But hopefully that's given you a really good understanding of ROWE and how we use it. Carly, thank you so much, Jeri. You're welcome. Anytime. Thank you for all the questions. And thank you everybody for asking questions. I really appreciate it. This is obviously going to stay on the YouTube channel anyway, so people can watch it at their leisure. But yeah, hopefully that's given you a lot of kind of understanding of how we use it. And I will just say that it's not for everyone, and don't make it compulsory. Just talk to your team, have conversations with your team. What do they want? You know, ultimately that's what I do. I speak to them, like I get their feedback. What do you want? And I try my hardest to align that with what the company needs are. And if you can get those two to meet, then win-win. Elena, thank you. And Alexis, thanks, Jeri, so helpful. You're all welcome. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. And yeah, until next time.